start, however, with the Saints. They are in a world of pain. Brett Ratten, after the game, was forecasting changes for the weekend ahead.
The gap between our best and our worst is just too big, and it's unacceptable. We've got to do something about it. We can't just keep going with this. A good quarter here or there. Players that aren't performing they'll have to go back to the twos. We've got some players in pretty good form in the reserves, and we'll have to make some changes because we can't have that.
Yeah, firstly, Lord, I'm not sure the gap between their best and worst is that big. I'm not sure what their best is. They've beaten GWS in round one, West Coast in Melbourne. West Coast don't beat anyone in Melbourne, and they've beaten Hawthorn and Gold Coast. So that would be the rebuttal to that. I'm not exactly sure their best is that good, but I wonder whether he's out of options, Brett Ratten, because this was him after the round 3 smashings and round 5 also.
The embarrassment, and not just them. This is us together. I was embarrassed too. I'm the coach, so it comes back to me. And I think everybody was embarrassed, and everybody should. This is a wake-up call for us as a team. Well, it's a bit like snakes and ladders, isn't it? Yeah, we move forward 3 steps and we go backward 5. We've given players a chance to bounce back, and we've still got a fair few on the injury list, and there's a few just returning this week that are playing their first game, so we can't even consider selecting them.
Yeah, so I wonder, Lord, we spoke about it at the time. Round 3 it was embarrassing, and then round 5 it was really strong. Now the only lever he's got really to pull is that selection and dropping some senior players.
Yeah, and since then came round 6, 54 points for Port Adelaide, and then on the weekend round 10, 111 points. And I think this is more than physical. It's more than a skill level, which we'll talk about their list very short. I think this is a mental thing with St Kilda. They're just not there. They're not playing as hard as they could be. They're not playing for each other like they could be. They're lacking spirit. And when you say that about any side, it's a hard place to know where to go. And Brett Ratten's trying a lot of things, but his players just aren't responding at the moment, Hutch.
You look back last year, they had this happy-go-lucky coach. They had selling connection as a product like most clubs try to. They looked like they were having a good time together. Where's it all gone wrong?
Well, you're right, Hutch. And players were in. Think of like a Dan Butler, for example. He was absolutely flying. You had guys, all around the ground, Marshall and Ryder and all these. Now you've just got Jack Steele, who carries this team, and it's hard to really talk of too many other players, Sam, contributing at the moment.
I think, Kane, I would challenge you on not knowing what their best is. I mean, the come from behind victory against West Coast was pretty impressive, and let's not forget that they beat the Western Bulldogs in a final. Last year,
Sam.
Well, you're talking. You guys are talking about this. You guys are talking about this group as if they can't win a flag in the next 5 years. It's not just about this year. There seems to be this strange rhetoric around St Kilda that just because this year may have been a failure means that they have to throw everything out and start again. I just don't quite understand
the
that.
sample size on the top-ups is a reasonable one. This is the oldest list in the competition at the moment, and they are playing really poor football. Judgment Day's now, not 2 or 3 years from now.
No, I disagree with that. I think they've got
chips in on trying to win with this group.
Absolutely they are, and this group has still got a lot left in it. I think they were deplorable on the weekend,
75
and I think they've been deplorable
86 points, 111 points
during the year.
And that as well. Like they're the oldest team in the competition. They're third for games played.
Yeah, but when you've got Ryder and Frawley and Geary in the same team,
everyone's got a case of that.
17th for and 17th against
to see, to Lordo's point, the fact that they're not there, like to see them so confronting and to see them against the Western Bulldogs, a team they did beat 11 games ago.
They were shocking. They were deplorable. And I don't think they'll win the premiership this year.
What gives you the confidence, though, on what you're saying there? Because I'll give you King and I'll give you Marshall.
Yep.
But I'm saying what gives
Hunter
you
Clark,
the confidence? No, but they've
Gresham,
been around a long time.
Butler. I mean, Butler's had a couple of bad games, but we were raving
you know what
about him
happens, though, Sam? A lot of players are great at their first year at a club.
Yep.
But it's amazing how they come back to the pack in their second year. I think that's what happens because they're not getting games at their previous clubs for a reason.
I think form-wise, they've found themselves, Hutchie, in a big hole in 2021.
So you still believe very much, you've been predicting them to make the 8, you still believe in this team, this list and this strategy?
Absolutely, I do.
Unwavering.
And I think they'll be 7 and 6 by the time they hit the bye.
You're unwavering on it?
Yep.
Wow. The base of first round...
You've jumped off pretty quick, really.
Well, I reckon 3 100-point hidings in a season is a fair sample size that things are wrong.
Yeah, they had 3 disastrous games.
That's not an aberration. And this is the bigger problem, is that their first-round picks since 2013 really aren't the core of this team at the moment, Lordo. So you look at, say, the previous Hawthorn eras who topped up on the back of first-round picks.
Yeah. Western Bulldogs the same, Hutch.
Bulldogs the same. Where's the base of the elite young talent in this team? Gresham's out, admittedly, but Clark's regressed. Where's the
Jones is out. Zach Jones is out. He's 25.
No. Where's the talent here that they will build from?
Well, no, they've brought a lot of their talent in, and a lot of these are misses. Absolutely. If they drafted Christian Petrarca instead of Paddy McCartan, if they drafted Marcus Bontempelli instead of Jack Billings, we're having different conversations. But if you'd like to have that conversation with every list, you could. Quite comfortably.
The draft hand's not the best hand either this year. They've got first round pick and they've linked 2 in the 4th.
I just question their effort and their attitude, and to see,
which is absolutely appropriate and fair.
And so what has led it to that is the issue, and that's their draft hand. There you can see there's not a heap of reinforcements. They get another talented player in who's probably not going to help them this year, but. Yeah, they got significant issues, and to see some of the vision, Lordo, that you wanted to highlight was pretty alarming.
Yeah, it was alarming because obviously they come up against a side in the Western Bulldogs who were slick by hand. So I just want to show how they can get you so many ways. So this is by hand. They made St Kilda look really silly. Obviously by hand into Norton, who just monstered St Kilda on the weekend. Then they can get you by foot, and this is where I was disappointed in St Kilda, where they would just let a merry dance, your players through the corridor. So Norton looks up. It wasn't if he went that quick, but look, no one even near this player for the Western Bulldogs who just links up and watch. When you're getting goals like this kicked on you, you know you're in serious trouble with the way they're going.
Yeah, and the other one for me, just the lack of attention into Marcus Bontempelli. And ad nauseum we've spoken about the good players. Now I think teams have finally worked out about Dusty. You've got to put some time into him, but Marcus Bontempelli ran around and did as he pleased on the weekend. Now he's the hottest player in the game. It was Hill versus Bontempelli. This played out, and just there wasn't that extra bit. Yes, he's right there. He's touching him as he kicks the goal, but the best teams are digging in and defensively playing like their life depends on it.
It's fairly late to be making a selection statement, isn't it? Like the season's over, in essence, for them.
I don't know what else he's got to do.
Season's not over, Archie. Season's not over.
They can't play
We're watching different
finals.
footy.
Yes, they can.
We're watching different footy on the weekend, you and I.
No, we weren't. No, they
watching
were
different
as
games.
bad as anyone has been all year. I don't want you...
3 times, 75, 80, 611.
And a 54.
And a 54.
They've been shocking, but the fact is that the season actually isn't over, that they can win their next 3 games
wasn't
quite comfortably.
Aimed at you, it was aimed at Kane.
Oh,
Who would you leave out? Is there still room to make a statement at selection?
Well, I think they have to. I think it's the only lever he's got left to pull. So it has to be a Brad Hill, or it has to be a big name. Now, these are the players that played VFL on the weekend. There's not a whole host of exceptional talent to come through.
Nothing there that gives you any
in fact,
confidence.
I would think Nick Caulfield is probably the only one to complete sort of best 18 standards in the AFL. Luke Dunstan has played some good footy at senior level. Apart from that, not a lot to get excited about if they do pull the selection lever.
It was a tough night for any St Kilda forward to play in, and particularly Max King coming off that 1-goal-5 the week before against Geelong. But I just thought that he went up so far and so wide, and we didn't look at his heat map. And look at where he had 84 offensive half disposals against Geelong, but then on the weekend 50-50. And Brett Ratton might say that's because the ball's not coming down there that much, but I saw a player potentially who was shying away. Either the clubs asked him to play higher or he was shying away from having shots for goal. But I'd be saying you're our best forward. The way you get back on the horse is by having your next shot and your next shot after that and your next shot. I've seen Lance Franklin kick 2 goals, 7.
Do you think there's a little bit of lack of confidence in that he's drifting out of?
In himself, there would be for sure. So I'd love to see him get back close to goal this week and get back to having shots.
Just on the Dogs, who are the talk of the competition, I'm with you on the off-field on the first final at Marvel. They average 127 points at that venue. If they end up 1, and let's run the exercise, Melbourne or Richmond and MCG 10 and end up 4, they absolutely have to play that game at Marvel Stadium without a shadow of a doubt.
So it has to be. So in 2015, they were forced to play a final against Adelaide at the MCG, which they should have played at Marvel, which they were quite aggro about. So if they finish top 2, that game has to be at Marvel. They deserve it. It's about the best advantage for the team that has toiled for 23 weeks to get that.
It's probably a 6, 7, 8 goal swing there.
But it won't happen though, will it? I know you're saying it must.
Why can't it?
Because we've seen it in the past. It just hasn't happened to other teams. Like Geelong would be saying, what's changed in the last few years? Why didn't we get that advantage?
But I think the AFL own the asset, for one. The crowd argument is mitigated because the crowds aren't of the same size and scale, understandably, as they once were. 50,000 would be enough against a Melbourne, say, for instance. And it is such a profound impact on
what
this
if it's
game.
Richmond, though? Like, shouldn't we have hard and fast rules here? Can we ever get to them?
What crossed my mind is Richmond put themselves in a position by being public about their angst for the league. The weapon of mass destruction is the draw. It's a dangerous game to play when you could get...
Yeah, and it's a harder spot for Western Bulldogs to be in. They can't start lobbying now because people say, you're getting ahead of yourself. A long way to go. You might not finish top 2. But absolutely, they deserve a home final and they should get it.